Hey folks, another beautiful day in the South Hill Spokane. This is John Peniel. Oh, so I'm just walking through the neighborhood in my own stomping grounds. It's a beautiful day, beautiful. Oh boy, excuse me. Yeah, it's so beautiful that I'm wearing a cap, right? It's a little chilly out here, Spring takes forever to take hold in Spokane. Just takes a while. I'm just going to keep on hammering this point home and over and over and over again. The point being that everything is an illusion, and I can prove it. I was just looking at some old pictures of Seattle, Washington, and Seattle's about 275 miles from where I live. I live in Spokane. So, okay, get this. Wrap your mind around this. Seattle was founded around 1851. I think it was incorporated as a town around 1865 or something like that. So it's been around a little longer in Spokane, a couple decades longer. But anyway, so I'm looking at population statistics in Seattle, and that city had a huge population explosion in the very early days. I'm trying to remember what year. I think it was in 1880. It had a population of about a little over 3,000 people. And then just a decade later, it went from 3,000 people to 42,000 people. Okay, wow. So you're thinking, okay, population explosion that happened. Okay, well, I'm going to bring out some points to you that you may have never considered before to prove that the physical world that we live in is nothing but a matrix. It's nothing but an illusion created by your mind. My mom found a walking stick. So you figure that on average, how many people live in a house on average? About 2.5 to 3 people. I looked it up. I looked up the statistics on this. Okay, so Seattle does this huge population explosion in a period of a decade, an increase of almost 40,000 people in a decade. It's okay, so, well, let me break it down to you. So, 40,000 people, how many houses do you need to house 40,000 people? Approximately, let me think, about 14 to 15,000 houses. All right, something like that. And so, in other words, 14 to 15,000 houses were built in Seattle from 1880 to 1890. There you go. Okay. All right, so I'm going to shatter your illusions, okay? Because you guys in Goyles have been You ladies and germs have been asleep for way too long. It's time to wake up. I'm breaking it down to you. So 14 to 15,000 houses were built in 10 years, from 1880 to 1890. So how many houses are built in a year during that period? Simple math. Roughly 1,500 houses a year. Let's do some more math. How many houses were built in a day in Seattle during that period of time? About 4 to 5 houses a day were being built in Seattle. Does that even make sense? You consider that this is a small town initially, you know? How in Hades, how in the world are 4 to 5 houses being built each and every single day? Okay, let's just do the math. Let's walk this way. You figure that it takes 6 to 9 months to build a house, right? That's how long it takes. And you're having 4 to 5 houses being built a day. So what does that mean? Do some math. That means that there has to be at least 1,000 houses in construction at any one time in Seattle during that period of time. 1,000. This, really? That doesn't even make any sense. That's like, how's that possible? Let's go through here. Anyway, a couple of weeks back, I was comparing this to my hometown of Spokane, where I live at. I did a show on that where I was explaining how Spokane does an annual population increase of about 4,000 people a year, I think. I broke down the math. That means there has to be at least 1,200 to 1,500 houses in construction at any one time here in Spokane. 1,200 at least. I did more math. That's what I like to do. That means that there has to be, on average, you have to be seeing a house in construction every 2 blocks on average. Every 2 blocks. That's pretty. Look, I got 2 eyes. I know what's in front of my face. I'm looking all over Spokane. I'm very much a traveler, constantly taking buses, going to different places in Spokane. I'm walking all over the place on the South Hill part. This is where I live, the South Hill part. Okay. And I'm only aware of one house that's in construction in all of the South Hill part of Spokane. Just one. There should be dozens of houses in construction in this area, according to the math. I mean, where in the hell are all these houses coming from? I don't see any construction crews hardly anywhere. I'm all over this city. Do you get my point, or maybe you don't? The point is, where are these houses coming from if there's no construction crews? See, the math doesn't add up. The math doesn't add up because we live in a matrix that's false. It's not supposed to add up. It's not supposed to be illogical. The matrix is produced by your mind. So how are these houses being built up if you don't see any construction crews anywhere? Hardly. The point is, these houses aren't being built. That's part of the illusion. They're being imagineered in your head, in your mind. Are you starting to get this? I'll break it down further. Well, let's go back to Seattle. Okay. So this is the early days of Seattle. I'm looking at Seattle, right? You know, remember this was founded in 1850, this 1851, I think. 1851, there's just like a few houses. It was just like it was like a podunk, I don't know, I don't think it was a mining town. I don't think that was how Seattle grew up. I'm not sure what its industry was at the time, probably logging. So it might have been a logging town at the very beginning. And a fishing town because it's right by the ocean. So, but it starts off really small, very humble beginnings. Okay, so I'm looking at the pictures of what it looked like in 1880. Bro, I'm seeing these fancy buildings, not houses, but you know, city buildings. You gotta take a really good look at some of these old pictures of these old these cities, and you compare it to the modern architecture. Okay, there's no comparison. You look at these old buildings that, you know, of these old pictures from 1880 Seattle. I mean, these huge, classically constructed buildings. That's like, wow, really? In with a population of 4,000 or 5,000 people or whatever, you got dirt roads, and you have these monstrous. They're not skyscrapers. You know, skyscraper hasn't quite been invented in 1880 yet. That's to come in the early part of the 20th century. But you have buildings that look pretty similar to what look like in some of the buildings in New York City. 1880, just 30 years after it was founded. It went from this little hamlet to this. You just take a look at these pictures. We've taken these things so much for granted. We never really scratch our head and say, where did these buildings, how were they built? You look at the architecture, they don't look simple at all. They look very complex and ornate and really, really solid and really well put together. You compare it to the modern architecture, which looks like complete shit. Like they're just hastily put together. There's no artistry behind it, you know. And I say, wow, where and how were these buildings built so quickly? And when you consider all the artistry and the masonry and all the details that go into it way back in 1880, not to mention all the houses that were supposedly built each and every single day in the early part of Seattle's history. 4 houses a day. There has to be at least 1,200 construction crews at it everywhere. And you went to, where are they? I mean, I'm in Spokane. I don't see any construction going on hardly at all. Yeah, where the freak do all these houses come from? They're not coming from anywhere but in your mind. And your mind creates illusions constantly to convince you that it's real, because it'll throw in an odd construction crew here and there every once in a while in the city, right? Just to appease you, to make it look like, yeah, these houses are being built by people, by construction companies. But when you look past the surface, you can call bullshit and realize that that's all part of the illusion which is created by your mind. It creates these scenarios. Houses are being built by construction companies. That's part of the illusion itself. Okay, let's break it down further. I live in Spokane, right? So I looked at all the roads, like how many roads, paved roads there are in the city. And it's about 1,000 miles. I did the research on it. I just Googled it. 1,000 miles of paved roads. 1,000 miles. Okay. In Spokane. Just in Spokane. Paved. Now, I think many of you, if not all of you, have at one time or another seen how roads are built. It's not something that just happens just like that. It's a very arduous, slow, tedious process. You got these bulldozers that first they gotta start bulldozing through the earth and make it all level. And they gotta do some surveying, and then they gotta lay the concrete or the asphalt on the ground. There's a big, huge process, and it's slow, arduous. Okay. So it takes forever just to put down just a little bit of sidewalk, let alone 1,000 miles of paved road in a city. And here's the kicker. I'm all over this city. I'm looking all around. I'm a walker. I like to walk all over the place. And I walk for miles too. And I take the bus all over the place constantly. I'm constantly surveying the city. I never ever see any roads in construction, new roads being built. I can't tell you the last time when I saw any roads that were in construction in this city. I can't go on any, my memory fails me at that. But the thing is, I never see any roads being built. So where in the freak did these roads come from? How did they get here? 1,000 miles of it. Now here's the humdinger of it. Spokane is jokingly called Spokanean, like canyon, Spokane, because there's potholes all over the roads. And we got some potholes here and there. It's not like ridiculous amount of it. It's exaggerated, but here's the kicker. The potholes are never taken care of. Where are all the road construction crews to take care of these potholes? I never see them. Which buttresses my point is, well, if they can't even take the time and the effort and the money to fill in potholes, which takes a lot less effort, and a lot less time, and a lot less money compared to actually building the roads, and yet I hardly see any construction crews filling in these potholes. I don't hardly see it anywhere. Then how much more so with these roads, which take so much more effort and time and money to build compared to just filling in a pothole, right? It's all an illusion, folks. None of this was built let me break it down to you. There's nothing that exists outside of you. There's no independent, objective reality outside of you. It's all a subjective thing being created in your mind. Okay. That's the point I'm trying to get across to you. So, how were these roads being built? Well, they're not being built by construction crews, because where the freak are they? Hell, I'm not even seeing potholes being filled up anywhere. And here's the thing that gets me is that about several months ago,
that's a good girl. Walk along.
I'm a bus taker. I ride the bus, right? Well, for a period of about at least a half a year, almost all the bus routes had to be redirected to other places because they were working on the roads. Were they working on the roads? Were they filling in potholes? They were doing anything but. I saw some guys out there. I'd see some machinery out there on the roads, and as far as I can tell, I think they were just digging up some of the roads to to fix pipes, underground pipes. I don't know what they were doing, but it went on. It went on forever. Months and months and months. And here's the kicker. I look at these guys fixing the roads, or they weren't fixing the roads, they were fixing underground pipes, I guess, because none of the roads looked any better for it once they were done. There's hardly any guys working on the roads. I mean, there's like a few guys. And yet, it's all around Spokane. It affected all the bus routes. What got accomplished? Nothing, because the whole thing's an illusion. Another case in point. You look at the skyscrapers in New York City, like the Empire State Building. Now this will blow your mind. The Empire State Building is a very classic building. It was built in 1930. I think it was finished in 1931. It's about 1,200 feet high. I know I'm off by a few feet here and there. I don't know the exact, but it's approximately just under a quarter of a mile high. Guess how long it took them to build that? You're going to say, oh, probably 10 years. 13 months. How do you build something like that in 13 months? Never mind I mean, look at it. You look at the old film footage of the Empire State Building being built, and you look at the pictures. You see the construction crews that are working on it. It's just a few guys on it. You look at these pictures, there's just like a couple guys. You know, this building's huge. It's a monstrosity. You see the film footage, there's a couple guys. Bro, you're gonna need a lot more than a couple guys building a monstrosity like that. And in 13 months? The film, just look at it, the film footage shows you. There's hardly anybody on it. It's just the case, just the point I was bringing on it about where all these roads come from here in Spokane. Where all these houses come from. I don't see any housing construction hardly at all. It's an illusion. So, the Empire State Building, going back to the Empire State Building in New York, that was built in 13 months, or was it? Let me tell you, it wasn't built in 13 months, it wasn't built in 10 years, it wasn't built at all. It's an illusion. You are David Copperfield. You're fooling yourself all the time with all these magical illusionary tricks of the mind showing that this stuff really exists, that there's some sort of linear progression from this point A to point B. You know, like, you think that a city is built up, because you got construction crews, and then, okay. Yeah, but the math doesn't add up. It's not linear. The math doesn't add up. It's not logical. Because the whole thing is an illusion. The whole thing's being imagined by your mind, including the Empire State Building. And that means time is an illusion. Another thing that you're creating in your head. Oh, the Empire State Building was built in 13 months. It wasn't built in no time at all. It wasn't built, period. The whole thing's imagined. Your mind, which creates this matrix, is creating these narratives. Creating the narrative that a Just So story of it was built by thousands of people. When in fact, when you look at the pictures and the film footage, it shows a few people on there at any one time. And 13 months, that's another narrative that your mind's creating. It creates that too. It creates the illusion of history books, which say that the Empire State Building was built in 13. The whole thing's illusion. Are you starting to get it? See, that's how you bust out of the matrix, just by looking at what's in front of your face and just doing the math. And if you're honest with it, and more people are starting to become more honest as time goes on, but a number of people aren't honest. They want this so desperately to be real, and they cling to it like it's something that's real. When I say everything is created by your mind, that's the trees, the planets, the whole thing's an illusion. That's why the scientists are coming out saying that the whole universe is a hologram. Other scientists are saying, well, it's a simulation or whatever. That it's not real. There's nothing there. All right, let's go through here. Careful, Mom. All right, so I think that's all I wanted to say about that. Run this through your mind and really, really face it. All right, thanks for watching, folks. You will have a wonderful day. Shalom and namaste.